Hey babies, and welcome back to the LizX YouTube channel. I'm your host, Liz, and today we are actually going to be talking about something a little different. So we all know I love horror books, mystery books, really anything of the horror genre, but I am also a very avid spooky girly, and I watch a lot of horror movies. So we're going to be talking about horror movies that I personally think are amazing, and I love them so much, and we're going to be talking about why. So strap in and let's do it. So we're not only going to be talking about movies that I find beautifully cinematic, and that's why I love them, but there's also ones that just absolutely scare me to the point where it just shows me I would never do that. And we're going to be starting with one that says, I will never do that. It's the reason why you don't go in caves, and that is The Descent. First of all, I am a firm believer in urban legends, and I feel like there's stuff out there that we personally have not found yet. And to think of getting stuck in a cave with a bunch of my climbing friends while spelunking. If you don't know what spelunking is, it's when you go down into the earth and cave dive basically and scale climbing walls. No, I could never. I hate small spaces. Could never be me. Won't ever happen. And to do it in the pitch black and get hunted by whatever those atrocious things are. No, thank you. But I do love the characters. I love the cinematography. I love the ways that they survive. It's a very good survival movie in my opinion. And there's actually two endings. There's the UK version and then there is a United States version. I live in the United States, so I've watched the United States version, but I have seen the UK version. Honestly, I don't know which one I prefer. The US version actually gives us a ploy into the second movie, like the sequel, but at the same time, the sequel's still out in the UK, but how it ends is very different than how the US version really just goes right into the sequel. But in my opinion, I love the movie, and I think the second one's also really good, but the first one's always on top for me. The next one we're going to talk about, I actually heard from a TikToker that I follow. Her name's Horror Chronicles, and I actually watched it the other night. It's called VHS, and that movie, found footage films or anything like VHS, like the Paranormal Activity movies, I feel like they're 10 times scarier in my opinion. And basically you get in all these VHS tapes, you get to see like 5 different like short stories that were filmed on these tapes, and they just get progressively, I don't want to say better, but they get progressively scarier. And they're all has to do with different things. Like one's paranormal, one's an urban legend, one is a betrayal in a marriage. There's all different ones. And I personally really like that. And I found out that there's 2 more movies. So I'm probably going to be watching those this weekend after I film this. I'm just very excited. It is like an older movie. It was made in the early 2000s. And in my opinion, it's awesome. And I love it so much because it's going to be an annual rewatch for me because it's just so, not bone chilling, but the first time I watched it, I was like, I remember I was watching and I'm just like, that's some good stuff right there. The next one we have is actually Trick or Treat. If you don't know what Trick or Treat is, it is another movie with 4 short horror stories in it, and I love it because they all connect at the end. I know that people are like, oh, like it's not really like the main like the main killer is not really that scary. How can you not only is he adorable, but he is pretty scary when he takes off his mask, okay? That, oh, he just gives me chills, but he's so adorable. Like I want to pick him up and give him a hug. But my personal favorite short story in this one probably is the werewolves or the Ghost Children. I kind of like the Ghost Children one more because you're at the end of it and you're like, slay girl boss. Because she's like, no, you bullied me. I'm just going to leave you for dead. But yeah, Trick or Treat's a really good one in my opinion too. One that I find actually beautifully cinematic is Midsommar. And Midsommar actually follows a cult in Sweden. And my friend and I were actually talking about this the other day, and she goes, did you ever notice that it's a Viking cult? And I was like, a Viking cult? Like I knew there was some similarities, like The Blood Eagle was one of the deaths and everything, but I never compared it like fully to it being a full Viking cult. And she actually explained that to me, and I was like, oh my god, I never realized that. But you know, one of my all-time favorite books is Awake by Natasha Preston, which follows a cult in Ireland, and this one was in Sweden. The characters, the turn of emotions, like you feel like you're losing your mind with the main character. I feel like they really put a lot of thought into cultic ways, how they make their own prophecies. The whole story came together so well, in my opinion, and I really, really liked it. So beautifully cinematic because of the fact that the colors, the characters, the way the camera pans, how the story just flows so easily. I loved it so much. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Moving on with like the beautiful cinematic thing, this one actually was released in 2024 and it was Abigail. I loved this movie so much. It was so beautiful in my opinion. Not only was the gore, the scares, the characters, but the fact that like classical music over horror movies, in my opinion, is so beautiful. It's just something about putting classical music over like a dance scene, in that, like in this case it was Abigail when she was ballet dancing, and we saw that progression throughout the entire movie. And the way that the colors just looked right, and it was just so beautiful. And my like those little comedic reliefs in it, like when the one girl comes out and she's like, I found garlic, and they're like, that's an onion. I was like, girl. I loved it. I laughed for a straight like 5 minutes. And I was actually on a date, and they were like over there like, oh, when like so pretty when her arm explodes in one point, and he's like, oh, and I'm like, yeah. He was like, what is wrong with this chick? My favorites is, I love when movies just make me feel emotions other than fright. Because I don't know if you all have watched, this is actually a TV series. It's All of Us Are Dead. It is a Korean TV show, and it's about zombies. And they actually reference Train to Busan in this. That movie emotionally damaged me, so I don't want to talk about that. But All of Us Are Dead, actually, in my opinion, is one of my favorite TV shows of my lifetime in the past couple years. And it literally, like, all I'm saying is Chung-sun better be with Anjo. That's all I'm gonna say, because I'm not gonna spoil it. But Chung-sun, I need Chung-sun to be with Anjo in season 2. Alright? That's it. Because the way it ended, and then it's like, season 2 coming 2025, I'm like, what? What? That's how it ends? I need to know. Plus the zombies and the effects, and there was actually, I saw a post about how, as we all know, there was a accident on a boat that an adult left a bunch of Korean students on, and they all passed away. And there was a lot of similarities. Like at one point, 2 of the students tied themselves together like they did on the boat because they didn't want to be apart in the afterlife, and so they tied their hands together in the show. An adult abandoning the kids on the boat, and then they're abandoned by adults basically when they're trying to get help. And that whole, like, I wish I could rewatch that series for the first time because it broke me. Anyway, guys, that is the end of this video. I hope that you guys start watching some scary movies, and I want to hear about it in the comments. Make sure you leave a like. Stay spooky, my friends. I'll see you in the next one.